Hello everyone, welcome to Codestur. So this is lecture number 10 from the C++ Basic to Advanced series, and I hope you are all doing well in this series. So in the lecture 9, we got to know about difference between parameters and arguments, and we learned about different types of parameters that we can define in the function definition. They were basically of two types, default and multiple parameters, right? So moving on to lecture number 10. What we'll run here is that, as I told you in the last video, we'll learn pass by value and pass by reference into the function, and we'll learn another concept of function overloading concept. Function overloading concept is basically a concept of object-oriented programming, but this can be covered here also. Like, this is quite easy, so I am covering it here itself, and we'll learn object-oriented programming at the end of this series, right? So, beginning with pass by value and pass by reference. Fine. Pass by value and pass by reference. Right. Let's recall what we learned in functions. Right. Let's make one function which is sum. Right. I wrote int a, int b, and int c. Right. What the function is trying to do is that it is trying to take some of these two values and store in this. It is trying to take some of these two values and store in this variable, right? So what will I do is that c is equal to a plus b, return c, right? This will work fine. If I go to int main and I declare two variables, int a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20, c is equal to 0, then I can just write the print statement like I can just write sum a comma b comma c, right? I'll get returned, I'll get c returned that contains the sum of a and b, and then I can print 30 on the screen. 10 plus 20 is equal to 30, right? Now, what's happening here is that this is basically a case of pass by value. Fine. What does pass by value actually mean is that when I'm passing this a or when I'm passing this 10 here, what we are getting here actually is a copy of 10. Copy of 10, or basically copy of a. So like, this might be quite confusing. Let me change the variable names then. I'll change the variable names. Okay. I'll make it x, I'll make it y, I'll make it z, and I'll make z is equal to x plus y, return z. Fine. So I am passing a actually. Okay. I am passing a, and here I am receiving it in x. So what's actually happening is that it is doing something like that. It is doing x is equal to 10, right? This x is not referring to a, not referring to this a. This x is not referring to this a. That means if I make any changes in x, that means if I make any changes in x, they will not reflect in a. They will not be seen in a. That means if I write here a statement something like that, x is equal to x plus 1, that means x becomes 11 now. But a is still 10. So this is basically pass by value. That means I am creating just a copy of this variable. Like a was equal to 10. I created another value. X is equal to a. That means x is containing the value 10. But x is not pointing to it. That means if I make any changes to x, the changes will not be reflected in it. This is called pass by value. Similarly, let's suppose I set here c is equal to 0, and then I'll copy c into z, right? And then I do z is equal to 30, right? Z is equal to 30. Now I am returning z. That doesn't mean c is also 30. C is still 0. C is still 0. Let's suppose I wrote here this, and then I write this. C out C. I'll get still 0. I'll get here 30, but I'll get still 0 here because the value of C is not being changed. Any change in the value of Z will not be reflected on the value of C. Fine. This is called pass by value. This is called pass by value. So let's understand what does pass by reference mean. What does pass by reference mean? Pass by reference actually mean any change in function, any change in function definition variable will also be reflected in function argument. That means if I write int sum is equal to sum int A, int B, int C, and I do C is equal to A plus B, returns C, and then in the int main, I call this function sum of, actually I'll declare some variables, x is equal to 10, y is equal to 20, and then z is equal to 0. And then if I call this function with x, y, z, so what I need to do in pass by reference is that, if I'm changing this C to A plus B, that means if I changing this C from 0 to 30, it says that Z should also change from 0 to 30. That means if I do this, I will obviously get 30 as the result, right? If I apply C out here. What I'm trying to say is that if I do C out Z, then also I should be able to get 30, because what my target is that I want to make any changes that are happening to C to reflect in Z. So what will I do for it is that in the function definition statement, I'll introduce an AND operator here. Okay. So the definition is now int A, int B, int and C. Okay. So now any changes that will happen to C will also be mapped to the variable Z. That means if I try to do sum here 30, and if I try to print Z again here, it will also give me 30, because C became 30 at the end of the function. So Z will also become 30. So what this operator is called is that it is called address operator. So what's happening here is that when I'm writing AND C here, I will not do something like that I was doing before. I was doing C is equal to Z. No, I was just copying the value. I'll not do this. What I'll do is that instead of the C, like instead of that 10, instead of that Z value, I'll just copy the address of Z into it, right? I'll copy the address of Z. See, what was happening before is that, let's suppose I have Z in this memory here, which is assigned to 0, right? And when the function statement is called by copying the value, what will happen is that another variable C will be created that will contain the same value. That means 0. Fine. But this is actually pass by value case, right? What does pass by reference mean? Z is equal to 0. When I'm calling the function, another value C is created, but the variable C will also be pointing to the same memory address. That means memory address remains same. So if I make any changes to C, the value that is contained in this memory address will also get changed, right? And the variable Z is also pointing to this memory address. So those changes will also be reflected in Z. This is what pass by reference means. That means you are not copying the value. You are just creating a reference to that variable so that if you change anything within the function on that variable, the change in variable is also reflected outside the function in the main function, right? So let me take a good example so that you get a strong hold of it. And let's suppose I write int main, I write int sum, and then I write int a, int b, int c. I did c is equal to a plus b, and then I returned c, right? This is of pass by value type because I haven't used any AND operator within any variable in the function definition statements, right? And if I go to int main, what will I do? I'll just declare variables. Int x is equal to 10, y is equal to 20, z is equal to 0, and then I'll just see out sum 10 x comma y comma z, like simple, right? And just do return. So this function contains a return statement. It will return a value, and then I can print on the screen using cout, right? Let me write another example of the same sort. This time I'll use void sum int a, int b, int address of c, right? What I'll do is that c is equal to a plus b, simple, and then I'll make the return statement. Cool. Moving on to the main function, int main, int x is equal to 10, y is equal to 20, z is equal to 0. What I'll do is that I'll just run the sum function x, y, z. So what will happen upon running the function is that this address of c contains the address of z, right? C will become a equal to a plus b. That means after this statement, z will automatically be updated to 10 plus 20, which is equal to 30. So actually, I don't need any return type in this function. I just need to update the value of c. That means I am updating the value of z. Simple. After that, I'll just do cout z. My task is done. That's it. So this is how pass by value and pass by reference is working. I hope you've got a strong hold of it. If you have any doubts, please do ask me out in the comment section upon this, because this is an important topic, right? Moving on to the next topic of this video. The next topic being function overloading. Okay, so let me define a function for you. Like I'll write only the definition, int sum. Let's suppose I have this int a, int b. So this is basically a function to sum two numbers, right? Let me define, let's suppose I write this sum 2 to denote that. Let me define sum 3, which contains something like that, int a, int b, int c. So this is basically a function to sum 3 numbers, right? So like instead of change, like if you wanted to do sum of 2 numbers, you have to write another function, right? Sum 2 with a different name. If you wanted to add 3 numbers, you have to write a function with a different name. So what C++ says is that you can just write the same name in both of them. Int sum, int a comma, int b, another one, int sum, int a comma, int b comma, int c. So when you will go to the int main function, if you try to do something like that, cout sum 10 comma 20, you will get an output of 30. What it will do is that it will check the number of arguments. It has two arguments. So it will go to some function first, it gets two sum functions, this one and this one. Then it checks the number of arguments. This has 2 arguments. This has 3 arguments, right? Then it checks the data type of argument for this 2 argument type function, like number of arguments 2 are matching here, right? It will check the data type. This is also int. This is also int. This is also int. And this is also matching. Uses this function, right? Uses this function. Let's suppose I do something like that. Cout sum 10, 20, 30. I'll automatically get an output of 60. How will I get it? How will I get it? I saw we need a sum function. We got two sum functions. I got the number of arguments 3, 2 not matching, 3 is matching. We want to match the data type int. This is also int, this is also int. Matching, use this function. So this is basically the concept of function overloading. That means you will define the same function 2 times, but with a different number of parameters and different data types of parameters. Okay. So depending upon how you pass the arguments in the function call statement, the particular or the specific function will be used. Let me take another example. Let's suppose I have function int func and I pass argument something like that. Int x, string x, comma, int y. Right. I again declare the same function, int function, int x, comma, string y. Right. Next, I again go into int main. So if I try to call function func, this name and this 10, and func 10 and this name, right? So for this, you're like simply knowing that you're calling func, that means it goes to func, simple. Then it matches the number of arguments 2 and 2, both of them. Then it matches the type of argument. This name is of string type, this 10 is of integer type. Easily matching, use this function. Again going to this func, getting two functions. This matching the type of argument 10, this is integer, this is string, use this function. Quite simple. So function overloading concept just says that you can declare multiple functions with the same name, but their parameters should be different in any case. Like they should be different in the numbers, they should be different in the data type. There should be difference between these two functions anyhow. Parameters in their data types, something like that. If you declare some function func and then you declare everything same, it will cause a compilation error because you cannot just create two functions with the same name. It will show you redeclaration of the function, right? So changing the number of parameters, changing the data type of parameter variables, you can do function overload. So this was the concept of function overloading. This was quite easy, and this is the concept of object-oriented programming. It is basically used between classes and objects. So finishing this video, this was it from this video. I hope you are revising everything. So meet you in the next tutorial. Until then, bye bye. Please do like and subscribe. Please do like the video and subscribe the channel. Please do share it among your friends. Until then, have a good day. Bye bye. Meet you in the next video.